Okay, it is the 1st of December, noon EST, and time for another Saturday community meeting for Enemy Content. Do we have any new members in the house? Don't think so. Richardson? Don't recognize you.
Morning.
Morning. Welcome to the org. Okay, might be a solo appearance today. Right, so meeting structure, just to remind you all, if you want to say something and people are not getting you an opportunity to get a word in edgeways, just type an X in the meeting channel and someone will interrupt to make sure you have an opportunity to speak. We'll go through some announcements first, and then we'll go on to discussion topics, which often end up being announcements, but the floor is open for comment and whatever. All right, let's just get started. So, Braxton, did you want to talk about the Banshee? I can't hear Braxton.
He may be AFK.
I saw him light up.
Then I'll just go on and we'll get back to Braxton.
Yeah, cool. Zaz, if you know about it, go.
Yeah, so we came up with a document that outlined, some of the general guidelines for the icon. I think we set back the date. I think it's going to be mid this month. The winner of the contest will be determined by the Officer Corps and Banshee, and the winner will receive an Arrow fighter.
Nice. Could you put a link to the
to the document? Sure, I'll post it up. Definitely.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. If any of you are artistic or have a friend who's artistic and want to profit from that, then that's the way you can. All right, let's move on to the next thing, if that's everything from Red. Blue Recluse report, Chief. Go.
Earlier, a while back ago, I put out a general request for people to help me out with some information. I'd like to say thank you to all those people that did help out. It was a great success. I'm still pouring over the information and whatnot to collaborate it all. We got a really good look with a lot of information at the superstructure that is the org that we're helping out. If anybody forgot, Acer Industries, I think that's their actual name. We're kind of partnered with them and helping them out with various different things. So what we wanted to do was be able to get a look at who else they're working with and what kind of org they were in general, in order to see where we could facilitate better communication and stuff like that. And I think we got that. Like I said, I'm a little backlogged on that stuff, but we are working on it, and we got a lot of good information from everybody.
All right. Sounds like you need more analysts, Chief. Don't have time to do it all.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of that. It's also a little bit of the programs I use right now. I can't give permissions for people to actually put stuff into them. It's not in the.
Oh, so I see. You've got to manually enter it yourself.
Yeah, it's all bottleneck. I'm working on that as well. So, but that's going to probably be fairly long because I think I have to write my own program for that.
All right.
You guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, did anyone talk about the contest?
Zaz already spoke about it, but we're still waiting for the link to the forum page.
Oh, I'll get it. One thing I will point out, Chief just pointed this out to me this morning. The concept art that was used for the Banshee logo that's currently posted is in a proprietary format. I'm going to get with him to find out if he can put it into something that is edible through like GIMP and some other programs. But I'll get the link.
And this still remains members only, no prospects allowed, right?
That is correct.
Aren't we kind of fucking ourselves there?
Yeah.
No more.
Sorry, I mean, like, why, if we had a new prospect
we can
that's
discuss
super
that.
hard.
It's how the contest was decided.
Okay.
Officers eventually decided it's how we're going to do it.
Okay, I like it. I was just making a point.
Well, I suppose any prospects who do have artistic talents, make sure you get your members badge in time, and maybe you can get involved with that.
Yeah, I'm a designer. I'm looking for my member badge.
All right, on to the next thing. If you're having issues with the forum or not at the current access, then DM Noob. Do you want to say anything more about that, Noob?
No, that's pretty good.
So yeah, if you're having problems with the forum, namely you can't see the forums or you can't post or anything like that, then the Noobifier 1337 is the person to get in touch. He is currently adminning the forum. Speaking of which, Noob, are we looking for more forum admins or moderators or anything like that?
So far, the traffic's pretty straightforward, and I apologize. I am eating lunch, so that's why I haven't been really. No, it's quite easy to manage right now. We're getting a steady stream of people in, and work's not interfering too much, so I'm fine.
All right, cool.
In the future, for hell, yes, we're gonna need.
Okay, on to the next thing. So 219th Legion, who runs our Warframe group, wanted us to read this out. Warframe news: the new open world released the end of the second week last month, along with the debut of a new Warframe called Garuda. Warframe time starts every Saturday at 4 p.m. EST to 7 p.m. EST. So it's actually happening right now. But if Warframe is a game that you play and you want to get involved with that, then I'm sure you can get in touch with him. Yeah. Warframe is a free-to-play kind of RPG mayhem shooter, I think is a good way to describe it. It's worth giving... Oh, it's in 4 hours? Okay, thanks, Sid. It's worth giving a try if you like those kinds of games. It gives me motion sickness, so I can't really play it. But yeah, definitely worth giving a go. All right, DCS. QP or is James here? QP, do you want?
Yeah, it's you guys can hear me?
Yep.
So the DCS has a sale going on until most modules are 50% off, which is a great deal, including all the map. And this goes on until tomorrow. So if you were thinking about it, or you want to grab the F-14 Tomcat or the F-18 and some other modules, now is your chance because it's as cheap as it gets. So that's all. Come join us. We're playing DCS pretty much every day, so you'll find us on the DCS chat, and that's all.
Cool. All right. So some of these are kind of announcements as well. I don't actually see any topics or announcements aside from those already done related to non-SC stuff. So if there are any, please speak up now. All right, we're going straight into the starters and nitty gritty. So Arrow Q&A is out. Do we have a link to that? Or no, we have a link to your video about it, right?
Yes, sir. That's the video in 60 seconds, and it pretty much covers the.
So having tried the Arrow, the only it's quite funny. I was in the channel with Chief and I was flying around in it for like 20 minutes saying, God, this thing's slow. Not realizing that there is a bug right now where you have to lower the landing gear and then raise it again to actually get it maneuvering properly. After that, it's pretty. What do you think, Noob? I think it's probably the best cheap fighter option.
Well, I mean, so the only thing it comes close to is the Gladius, and that might be more armor than this, but this is quick. I mean, there's on paper it's better, and it's also $20 cheaper, and right now it has LTI, so it's kind of like, especially now, not a no-brainer.
Right. The only thing it might be lacking is the fuel scoops, but that's the same across the board for fighters. So.
Right. So the document also said that it had scoops, but I'm sure that's going to go away. I think that was an error. Yeah. Yeah. If it has scoops, then it's a no-brainer, hands down. But I don't think that'll survive balance.
Well, we were talking about this actually with the fuel scoops. We can come back to that discussion later.
Right. More to follow.
Cool. The new Xi'an ship may be meta. It's actually 4 times size 3.
Correct. It's a Saber. It's the same loadout as a Saber. Well, not weapon-wise, but hardpoint-wise.
Right, but I mean, you can fit whatever you want on it. So.
The only way they might balance that is if they pull power from it.
Or have no missiles, maybe?
No, it's going to have missiles.
I mean, it has crappy missiles. Or has it got lots? Anyway, it looks pretty cool. I'm gunning for one. Got a CCU with my name on it. But yeah, I mean, like the other Xi'an fighters, probably not going to have very strong armor. It looks like it has pretty good shield. But anyway, that should be fun when we see that in game.
And it looks like it's more suited for the new flight model, so I picked one up.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it might be meta. And again, I don't think the devs are stupid, and the people that I've talked to about the flight model that are like me, that like to dogfight, say they tested it and it's fine. So I don't think that CIG is going to make it so different that you either have or don't have an enemy or an alien ship. Like they're not going to make all the other ships irrelevant.
Yeah, I think my impression is that it's just going to feel slightly different. Like it's going to be equivalent to the Super Hornet back in 2.6 versus, I don't know, the same Super Hornet had great maneuverability like laterally, whereas the Saber didn't have as good.
I think it's like F-15 versus Harrier kind of situation as far as flight, right?
To an extent. If you mean like vectored thrust.
Yeah, it looked like the thrusters could go down, so you had the VTOL, so and all that going on.
Yeah, so in terms of atmospheric flight, absolutely. I think having the 6 degree of movement flight will make flying in atmosphere. I think that's where you'll feel the difference most, because it'll fly more like a hovercraft or a helicopter than a plane, which is what most of the human fighters seem to be aimed to. But in space, I think it'll probably just feel like
less drifty.
Yeah, exactly. Less drift.
That's what they were trying to explain in the video. They're saying it's gonna be less drifty because its main engines go everywhere compared to everything else. Is just their main engines are only like retro or like forward.
Yeah, you will still have lateral thrust, but it's just going to be like, if you're talking numbers, your thrust in a forward direction is 10, your lateral thrust is going to be like 3, whereas in the alien ships it might be 7 across the board. So there'll be a balance.
This seems interesting because I wonder how it's going to work with the Constellation, since those upper pylon engines are meant to turn.
Are they?
I don't think they do that anymore. Just like the Cutlass don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Too bad. I wish they would put it back.
Okay.
Freelancer is supposed to be like that too for landing.
Yeah, there's a lot of ships that had that kind of like rotating engine, but I think they didn't do it because of engine, like game engine limitations.
And the Cutlass
It was-
looked stupid.
The reason that the Freelancers lost its rotating engines was the same reason the Cutlass did, is because the Flight Model 1.0 did not allow for accurate or even stable flight patterns with those types.
Yeah, so they were just waving about all over the place constantly.
Right.
Okay.
I had a question about the Santucci Eye versus the Defender. Does the Defender also have these? Everybody keeps saying alien ships. So what are the VTOL capabilities of non-Xi'an ships?
Well,
Well, Vandal have something configured very similar to human, where they've got engines in the back.
When they were talking,
the Banu does look like it. The Banu Defender looks like it has engines at the back as well.
when they were talking about the alien ships, specifically when they were talking about the new they said that the flight characteristics that they're describing with the new Xi'an ship were going to be specific to the Xi'an because of the configuration they use for their engines. So the Vandal and the Banu will have different characteristics, probably different than human, but not the same as the Xi'an.
On that panel, they specifically said that the ship will fly like it looks like it should fly.
Right.
And that makes sense with the Super Hornet having a big engine in the back. It's going to look like, it's going to fly like it looks like it.
Which means it should spend most of its time going forward rather than side.
Right.
That's kind of their point. Okay, on to the next topic. New road. Yeah, someone's going to post that link up in the meeting. Okay, I guess I'm going to post that link in the meeting. Oh, New did it. All right. So the roadmap, I'm sure all of us have seen these before. They give us an idea of what kind of content's going to be released. It obviously changes pretty regularly, but it gives us a general idea. And it seems that we're getting the female avatar in 3.4 and not much.
No, 3.5.
I'm excited about that.
I thought it was moved to 3.4.
I'm looking at the roadmap right now.
Okay. Disregard, we're getting nothing in 3.4. I'm just kidding. Sorry. The freelancer's coming out, the Taurus is coming out, there's some other stuff, optimizations, but nothing.
The business district in Lorville's coming in.
It doesn't sound like very much.
That sounds like making Lorville into an even bigger death trap.
Or like R Corp, like the reason I say it doesn't sound like very much, but compared that to R Corp, that doesn't sound like so.
No, it's probably not, but it's still another, section for gameplay.
So, Star Citizen 3.4, 3.3.5, now with more lag.
Pessimistic.
Well, there's performance optimization still in 3.4.
So, they're working on the character, but they're not working on the character?
No, there's 5 developers.
5 guys are.
Yeah, there's 5 developers.
I know, I'm just wondering, it's not on
the
the...
quality of life thing. That's what 3.4 is be, quality of life.
I know, I'm just saying there's ships that are working on that are not on the roadmap.
I wouldn't be surprised because the carrots become something of a meme at this point, that they hold that one in their back pocket, and then when they have it ready, they're like, hey, look, happy Christmas, it's the carrot, or something.
Well, not just that, but they just now started working on the Carrack again, so they don't really have a time frame for the.
Yeah, that's also possibly true.
There's another complicating factor, and that is they said that it's 5 different people working on it, so they're going to have to get familiar with the work that's there. There's going to be a spool up time on that before I would guess before they actually do any real production.
I was also wondering about the if anybody heard anything about the what do you call it, the Hercules Starlifter or the Mercury and all that. Like, are they going to start working on those too?
I would say no.
Well, you know what?
None of those are in Squadron, right?
If you look at the website, it says that the Star Mercury is in. I saw that when I looked at the sale last night. I find it hard to believe, but that's what it said.
It might just be that, I mean, we all know that the website is not necessarily accurate, but it might be that it got past like the phase that's just before production, like maybe it reached white box, or is it gray box? I'm not sure.
That's definitely possible.
And therefore they were like, hey, it's ready to be produced, but it hadn't actually started.
Also, too, guys, remember this. It's like, I'm not sure if it was last week's ATV or a couple of them back. They said they're reconsolidating the teams. So instead of pulling a team off of one thing and having them work on something else, they're trying to reconsolidate them. So a team will be assigned maybe for all the Mist stuff. A team's going to be assigned for all the Aegis stuff. Another team's going to be assigned just for the Drake stuff, so that this is all they're going to be responsible for.
So I thought they already had that.
They kind of actually had it so that devs were being pulled off of one thing and jumped onto another, and they were trying to get away from that now that they've got, I guess, basically most of the tools done that they need.
That all started with the sprints. They would have sprints for specific topics, and they would pull various designers from different apps.
All right, so they did have that situation, but then people just kept getting pulled away.
Yeah, and it's more or less the devs internal that have asked, like, can we kind of stay isolated on something? And I think it's the production people that are saying, yeah, it's better off to do it this way. And I think that's also where some of this 2 weeks point that's been going on, that even though that they're telling us like, well, this is for the ship sale and stuff like this, it's no, and they're on vacation time. I also think that they've been reconsolidating their office and training people and says, no, you're going to be isolated for this and you're going to be isolated for that.
Right.
But then again, I could be all wrong.
I thought my interpretation of what they said was with the teams, they were going to have more complete teams, bringing people from like the physics and lighting or something like that. Don't quote me on the exact ones, but instead of just having designers like the artists as a team, they would have different members from different areas forming teams. That way they could go through the whole process and not go one thing and then they're sitting there waiting for someone else to finish, you know, the lighting or the physics or something like that.
Yeah, but what Starfire is saying is that like that's going to be included. Like there's going to be a Drake team that includes what you're talking. There's going to be an Anvil team that includes what you're talking about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so sorry, Wolf. Don't need my bad.
I was going to move on. All right. So yeah, in 3.5, yeah, we've got the flight model changes, ArcCorp, etc. So if you're the type to tune in to Status and then tune out for a few months, Q1 3.5 is probably a good time to tune back. Not that the game isn't unplayable. Wait, there's too many negatives.
Might be a good time to start doing some training in 3.5, right?
Correct.
Yeah, maybe.
No brainer. Like you guys haven't seen me. You will see me. I will be there. I will take off work to test that.
Jesus. The flight model changes. It's definitely something we want to jump on. At least we're approaching the time where things are getting dialed in and finalized. At least in broad terms. Like in years past, we've had the mantra of it's going to change, so don't get used to it. But we are approaching the time when Squadron 42 is like a couple of years away at most. and then actual release maybe a couple of years after that at most. So we are approaching that time when they put in a mechanic, that's how it's going to be. So definitely we will be trying to practice with that flow.
Any information on guild mechanics? So we're talking about the
so orgs 2.0.
Yeah. What is there a link to that?
So that's funny. A little bit of a tidbit. Nuclear and Benoit are supposed to be coming by to see the sim rig, and at that same time, I'm gonna corner him in my house and I'm gonna interview him. Believe me, I'm gonna talk to him about Org 2.0.
Scheduled for 3.6 Q2 of 2019.
Right, but I mean, the last time I was there, not recently, but the first time I was there, I should say, they showed me FOIP, VoIP, and in-game audio like Discord, and they were working on it, and it was functional, and they had to polish it and figure out how to make it work large and legal. And it was actually the legal concerns that were, if I sent someone something harassing, what's the policy, right? Like there has to be, they basically become like a Google Drive, and they needed to absolve liability because I could send links to, I don't know, porn or something in it, and then what? So that was the main concern, not that it wouldn't work, but how they could do it and implement it. So yeah, well, when I get closer to that, believe me, I'm gonna bring up that document again so people can add their questions, and I would very much like to talk to you if you have like ideas about that.
Is that focused on?
Go ahead.
Is that Org 2.0 just focused on communications, or will that include things like organization assets? For example, an org can actually hold assets.
No, that's not out. We're not going to see that until like much later, because we still have a stupid store. Like we're not even able to trade stuff in game yet. So what I'm speaking about is the ability to add all org members to your friends list, for example, or to see the status
list,
right?
Yeah.
To see the status, so you can send a message only to org members, only to, you know, add and fire people, break them down into groups. Because right now it's all there, but it's not really, like, there's nothing really there. It's not useful. There's no search. There's no, you know, there's no org overview. There's no in-game comms, because there's supposed to be in-engine comms and then in Spectrum comms. Like a Spectrum is supposed to sit out like Discord's doing right now.
So for me, I'm mostly interested in diplomatic. Like, can we set relations with other orgs so they automatically appear hostile, that sort of thing?
That's probably coming in 2025.
When DCS 4 comes out.
As long as Benoit put it in the back end, Noob, it's possible. But if they didn't put it in the back end, then they would have to do it all.
I mean, what I'm saying is that's something I personally am very interested to hear about, even if it's, we haven't even started thinking about that, but it's on the cards.
Does Orgs 2.0 include things like that, like inter-org relations?
Well, it's not even on the roadmap. I think it's just they're just playing with it. Honestly, what I saw was
includes like the possibility for that to be added. Is kind of what
I would kill for them just to get the Android keyboard to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is that?
Baby steps. What, the meeting?
Yeah.
Before the 15th of December.
Okay, so we'll have time to think of things to ask.
Don't worry, I will give you a week in advance. Or we can do an impromptu meeting while he's here and get org members to ask him questions live. That would be all.
That's a nice idea.
I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
I'm sure Spanish Inquisition.
Welcome to the ambush, bitch.
It's like 30 people in channel, like, hey.
I will definitely never get anything done at that point.
I'll put two-sided tape on the chair.
As soon as he sits down.
Right, done. Good.
Put a metal plate in his pocket and get one of them really strong magnets.
All right, cool. That's that. Reaching out to other orgs. Has anyone actually? So, please just not here. There were a couple of people who previously had like contacts in other orgs who wanted to do. Not sure if there's been any progress on that. I mean, we had the ASIN thing last week. It was semi-successful. We were outnumbered. We kind of got our asses kicked, but we were outnumbered. They had a defensible position.
Impregnable.
Worked in their favor.
I have a question about that, Wolf.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
You mentioned that it took like an hour and a half to get set up. What was the reasoning for it?
So two things. First of all, getting everyone onto the same server was then people getting off Hurston took far longer than anticipated. Then I think just generally just traveling anywhere in game takes some time. Getting everyone onto the same ships, although we kind of did all these things in parallel. Mainly it was waiting for people to get to Yella or Daymar rather from. So I guess anyone who wants to get involved with org events, assume they're not going to be on Hurston, and if you spawn in Lorville, try and make sure that you're spawning in Port Olisar. The only way that I know of to make sure that you will spawn in Port Olisar is to land a ship on Port Olisar, wait for the guy to say, ship, what's he say? Ship has been stored or something. Which means if you're on Lorville, you have to fly from Lorville to Port Olisar, land, and if you weren't the pilot, if someone else gave you a lift, you need to then spawn a ship, take off, land again, wait for the ship to despawn. So it's a bit of a hassle.
I think you just have to wait for him to say landing complete.
Yeah,
That's
I was gonna say landing complete, and yeah, that way it's registered. Yeah.
Okay. So landing complete. So I think you just have to land and then get out the seat. Whatever. As long as you hear that, you're good. But yeah, if you want to get involved, please make sure that you set your spawn point to Olisar beforehand, because it does slow things down considerably. The only thing that's useful that you can buy at Lorville, as far as I'm aware, is the multi-tool and ships, of course.
Wolf, may I add a little bit onto this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. All right. I've been thinking about what you guys have been saying, trying to get things set up, and the difficulty is at Lorville. And this is something that I'm going to say we're going to face a lot of. So, and Port Olisar is not the best place sometimes to even get set up right now, because there are people trolling that. So the best suggestion. So here's my best suggestion on it, if I just may say, and I'll try and keep it quick. Someone pulls a ship. If you're in Lorville, someone pulls a ship, go out to the outskirts. Everybody gets into the other train, go out to the long run, out to the business district at a set location. Wait out there and meet. Wait for the ship to land, board the ship, and then get the hell out of there. That's the best way to organize it. And you have to treat it like as if you're doing a regimented method of training to get in the ship as quickly as possible and go. No dilly-dally, no looking around, no chatting. Just go.
Yeah.
Maybe a different starting point than a 100-kilometer atmosphere might make sense, but same principle.
We did not have a choice in that.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the last one. I mean generally. Sorry.
So it's not so much that Port Olisar is the best place. It's just that it's a place that isn't.
Exactly. If you're planning on attending some kind of training that's scheduled, try to do a little setup somewhere beforehand to get yourself someplace.
Literally anywhere that isn't Lorville, because there's all sorts of issues. Like we had people run out of fuel trying to quantum travel from Hurston to Cruise. we've had people get interdicted. Well, we got interdicted in Constellation and then couldn't quantum travel anymore because it bugged. So, there's all sorts of issues that can come up. So just please spend an hour to just do that anytime so that when you do play as a group, everyone's in the same place. All right. So yeah, reaching out to other orgs. So Asin said that we could do a repeat event that would currently be scheduled for this next Saturday. It would be the same time. I'm hoping that since we have more warning, we'll have a better time. Not that we had a bad turnout, it's just they had more people than us, and well, I'd like for us to be able to turn the tables on them.
I would like for us to actually use this as a training exercise and get our wing guys in there to see what they need to work on.
Yes, I think we had a couple of guys from Green Wing, but I was in charge, and me in charge of ground operations is a bad move. So please, someone from Green Wing who is competent and willing to take control, come in there and tell me to shut the fuck up and do that. Please. For all of our sakes. I'll put an event up on the forum about that as well. So next thing. So this is a topic that has been going on for a while. So I'm sure some of you are aware that there's been a lot of talk of Orca Patrol, which my understanding is that
taking over chat.
It's like a Polaris Patrol fan club thing. Anyway, it's consumed the officers' chat as we've been discussing whether or not we should squash this ridiculous behavior or or encourage it.
What was that other stupid wing that's popped up right away in the forum? Remember, there was
the dolphin.
No, it was even dumber. Duckwing.
Oh, the Duckwing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How about we let someone, either Metal Rain or Bergen, whoever's here, actually make their sales pitch and let everybody know what their intention of Orca Patrol is.
I don't think either of them are here, unfortunately. Is anyone? Go ahead, Walter.
Oh no, it was another dumb idea. I was just saying I suggested the rookie's wing be butterfly wing.
We're already pink in Discord.
Exactly. It's just, I mean,
unicorn.
Pour it on.
Is there anybody here that's backing the Orca movement besides apparently Nubifar?
Yeah.
What you silently taking care of them.
I think it was more about an SME, like a subject matter expert on the ship itself. Yeah, there was a lot of stupid talk about it, but it was mainly just to learn how to use it as the best possible.
Okay, so we've discussed this extensively in the officers chat, and basically there are a few issues. One is, yes, an SME potentially for a ship. I think that's problematic for a myriad of reasons. One being that we'll end up having an SME for every ship, which means we'll have, how many ships are there? Like 170? That's more people than we have in the org.
No. There's like 183.
Yeah, we're fine.
In terms of cap ships, yeah, maybe, but until they're actually in the game and we know how A, varied, and B, involved the gameplay specifically for each individual capital ship will be, I think that's a problematic way to, some may disagree. The other thing is, so that's kind of issue number one. Issue number two is Capital Wing. We've had this discussion before. We've always said there's no point. The capital ships are tools, not specializations. In that, the wings are about types of gameplay. You have space combat, you have fleet support, you have ground combat, you have industry and economics, and you have stealth and capital ships is not a gameplay style. It's, you know,
No, well, in the
they're
future,
weapons.
though, being a fleet commander, that Ender's Game type person, that could, but we don't even have cap ships, so I don't like. We discussed this a year ago when the org merged, and we ended up throwing it out.
So
because we just didn't have.
Yeah, so let's open the floor. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm on my phone. Yeah, I'm on my phone. It's hard for me to get an X in there. This is my thought, and we did kind of hash this out a little bit in the officers channel. My viewpoint is that I really feel strongly that we need to have some kind of foundation to start with multi-crew training, and it would be the foundation for any kind of capital ship stuff that we have. I know that all the other games that are out there have some kind of fleet operations, whether you're on foot or you're in a ship. If you're an Eve, they have the ability to control multiple ships to kind of, you know, coordinate attacks and things like that. But even in those circumstances, you're coordinating people who are their own entities. And I'm not 100% sure that there are any games out there really that focus on the idea that you have a single ship that's crewed by a bunch of people that have a singular goal to operate that ship. And I really think we are, and you're right, this discussion has come up in the past years, and it's always kind of the can is kicked down the road. I think we're selling ourselves short by not starting to lay the framework for getting multi-crew training in place. I think the idea of having, you know, one person who's running the ship and having people who are in turrets, people who are manning the MFDs, the engineering console, doing power distribution, all that stuff. Sure, some of the mechanics are a little bit flaky right now, but there's enough of a framework to justify starting to train in this stuff. I mean, I think other people out there are already doing it, and the fact that we are not is a shortcoming.
May I drop a line in here? What's up, Radar?
Yeah, hey.
Hey, it's Ninja. Right now I'm not currently playing a lot of SC because I was kind of waiting for a next big push. I like what I see so far, but in the meantime, because I am an enthusiast and supporter of this game, I train myself in other ways. I hear what you've been saying about multi-crew operations and like specializations of different departments and practicing for the bigger picture. But in my lifetime of experience in games, I don't hold my breath. This is just a personal thing. I do not hold my breath when it comes to what's been promised until it's actually there. So I work with what is out with the people I have around me and just get good at that right now. So to that end, have you played PUBG or Battlefield?
No, I've played similar games, but I haven't played those games in particular.
They are cutthroat in terms of competition and in terms of scale. What you're talking about of coordinating with ships and getting goals done and practicing, that can be done in like smaller scales, if you know what I mean, and make those squads have their own goal. And of course, if you have like a commanding officer overseeing the entire operation, you guys can get incredible things done. But at that point, it's I don't know if until the game has been balanced enough where each ship has a role to play in the army, if you know what I'm trying to say. Because right now it's somewhat ambiguous, am I right?
Well, no. So this is where I'd like to kind of challenge that notion. And your argument has been put up by other people, and I just don't agree with it. Even in those games, even in Eve, you're still an individual working on your own. And granted, you're working on a team, but you are still an individual in control of your own actions. On a ship where you've got different people working different parts of the ship, you all have to work together as a single unit, as a single entity. Not so much just that you're all kind of coordinating and you're free flowing like in a single, multiplayer first-person shooter. You're in a single object, and that object has to move in unison. Think of it like a giant puppet with 4 hands and a head, and you need 5 people to run that puppet. It's not the same as if you all had individual hand puppets, you know? You all have to move in unison to have the ship work. And those mechanics are in the game right now. You know, a perfect.
Oh, they are?
Maybe there is not enough people in this chat channel who played on a Hammerhead. But to me, it was a glaring case of why we need to start practicing and training each other in how to work on a single ship. how to steer a big ship, what kind of principles to use in maneuvering, how to let people in the turrets target properly without driving the ship all over the place, how not to chase after a ship like you're dogfighting them in a giant behemoth like a hammerhead. Those kind of concepts and that kind of teamwork, we really need to be starting to at least practice this now, at least to some degree. And if we decide, you know what, it's too busy and the server's too hard to get together on, then we need to at least start thinking about it. And this is the point I'm making. I'll shut up in a second. If this is the point I'm trying to make. If we already have wings that have subject matter experts in gameplay mechanics that are not in the game now, there is absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have something similar to that for multiplayer crew, multi-crew stuff, because multi-crew is in the game.
We're going to do that. We're just waiting for the flight model. Can I interject for a second?
No, guys, we have an order of people who wanted to talk. Chief, go ahead.
I agree with Radar Ranger that we need to start looking at multiplayer. Where I disagree with him at is that it needs to be its own. I think most of the multi-crew stuff is actually handled already by the other wings. I think the biggest thing that needs to start being trained is command and control. Communication, command, control, how to get people to work together in any situation. Because like you said, it is individuals working together. As an infantryman, I can tell you firsthand that it may seem like we're doing our own thing when we're working as a squad in an infantry, but it's all coordinated with everybody else. That comes from training as a team, not training as a multi-crew, not training as anything else, but just team training.
If I may add something on this, what you guys are all talking about is exactly what I experienced in a different group. In this group, we did routinely every week, every day, we met at a specific hour, and it was org training on what you need to do in there, and we broke up in teams of 12, and we had 4 of these teams of 12s going on, and you had a patrol leader, you had an executive patrol leader working with it. You functioned as a team. You learned to do things as a team to the point that you don't even need to ask the question, you should know. And if you do that, it becomes a well-oiled machine. In reference to something what Radar brought up, he has a valid point on a few things. When the multi-crew reaches to the point of what it is, and I've done it, like if you have ever played the game PlanetSide 2, you can have a well-coordinated situation. I flew a Liberator. I'm the pilot. I'm the one that's driving toward the target. It is my responsibility as a pilot to make sure that my gunners can hit the target. I don't care about if someone's shooting at me or someone's hitting me. That's what the gunners deal with. My job is to get to that point.
All right. Rinsler, you put an X in a while ago. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to sing that old tune about Empty Epsilon or games similar to that. It's bridge crew training, essentially letting the different roles of a large capital ship be able to communicate rapidly. The like knowledge of maps and charts, being able to multitask and be aware of where enemies are to be able to boost shields on which side of the ship, and that kind of stuff is kind of like the whole gameplay mechanic of these type of games. I thought that would translate well to potentially the implementation of whatever gameplay they have planned for these large capital ships in Star Citizen. I do know that to command a ship of large capital size, you probably would need to know a lot about how to convey information to navigators or receive information from navigators. So however their map or chart system's going to work would be good to be proficient with. You'd probably need to know the weaknesses of the different ships. Like, for example, the Hammerhead. You can't really see up very well. You can see like in front of you and down, but your vertical visibility is really limited from the cockpit. So listening to whoever's on the top turret might be a good idea, just to make sure you don't run into, other ships or
flying third person,
things like that.
Yeah, so flying third person. Well, when we were doing Hammerheads, I thought that probably the best method was having a person who sat in third person and was directing everyone else. If the pilot can fly in third person, that's even better, right?
Right.
If you've got someone like, say, the co-pilot can watch the radar, can watch the MFDs and stuff, then the pilot can fly in third person. That saves you a person. You don't have to have an extra person.
To give you a background to that, if you're in third person, you can actually bind view. And I've tested it already with the Virpil stick, how it has a little joystick on it. So while you're flying third person, you can look behind you just by panning around. It's actually super cheat, and I don't expect it to make it into game. However, we've had third person, like they've set that precedence, so people are going to lose their mind, right?
Yeah,
Right,
I don't think they can remove it entirely. They might limit it in some way.
So that was just the general concept that I'm basically agreeing with what Radar is saying, and I thought that it would be a lot of fun to get into these little crew simulator type, bridge simulator type games and kind of play a functional game, and that seems to be translating really well with playing around in the Hammerhead. It seems like it's a good idea to be able to quickly communicate with each other, like enemies on the right, and have whoever's piloting the ship know what to do in that situation with whatever ship they're flying.
Okay. We're running out of time, so Radar, I think we really need to extend this topic. I believe there is a forum post up. If someone could link that, and then people can put their thoughts in there. We'll talk about this again next week and decide like what to do. Like if we want to make a new wing, if we want to assign an SME, like that would mean a new officer, which is fine.
And to be fair, I was okay with that 6 months ago, right? Like you cannot have too much forewarning. You cannot have enough essay on it. It's just if we identify that wing and then they do nothing for a year while we're waiting for that gameplay, that's why it was shelved. Not that it isn't valid. It's just that we didn't see it necessary at that time. So if it's necessary now, I'm all for it, honestly.
Yeah, I just want a second. I think we should definitely have another discussion.
Sorry,
I'd be,
last word. You've got 1 minute, please.
Yep, I'll keep it less than that. I think we should definitely talk about it next week. We should continue this very rigorous debate on the forums, and I wouldn't even mind having another voice chat scheduled sometime this week if you guys want to talk about it a little bit more and hash some stuff out real time. So if anybody's open for that, post it in meeting and we'll go for it.
I'm all for it, Radar.
Cool.
Same here.
Sorry, Vasily, we are running out of time, so we've got to move. Any other topics, please, that you wanted to talk on that? Please go to the forums. If there are any other unrelated topics, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait until next week, or just post them in the meeting channels so people can read. Because we have to move on to the most important part of our meeting. And there are a couple of other individuals who have arrived. So Ninja Mime, are you new?
No. He's
Killer V is.
He's 2004 EC.
Oh, okay. You've just been kind of hiding for hibernation.
Hiding in plain sight.
Oh, Killer V is brand new.
Killer V is brand new.
Yeah, I'm just around because
Hi guys.
I love combat. Sup? And I heard you guys talking about different factions of play and ground combat, and that tickled my attention instantly because my buddies and I rank top in PUBG, so we predict combat scenarios, and based on risk reward and information, we fight on like a larger scale because it's like a 100-man survival, and now we're playing Battlefield, and it tied into the squad play that you were talking about, and how in the larger machine, how do you let one unit get something done even without comms for the greater good of the fight. And so EC is very much a very fun machine for me to play in because everyone starts working together with their own tools for the greater cause, and it just gets done just simply by playing and finding out tricks. So if you guys ever find out useful tricks while you guys are fighting, write those notes down, and it's like every bit of information allows us to get closer to the win and be better than another team.
Oh yeah. Sounds like your expertise will be invaluable. So glad you're with us. Okay, so what we actually need to do now is Richardson and Crash Harder. Are you both present?
Crashes.
Richardson's here.
Okay, we have a little tradition. Because I'm British, I don't like to call it what it is, but it's hazing.
Richardson.
What am I saying?
It's in the meeting channel. Do you see that?
I'm old teapot.
Yeah.
Go.
You sure are.
Little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my hand. Here is my spout.
Here is my spout.
God, we're off.
When
I
I'm
gotta
steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out.
Well, I like the passion at the end, but I think they should, give it another.
Yeah, that was not that good.
I mean, it was better than what you did, Tom. It was an off-time duet, which is perfect for us.
I'm pretty.
And I don't want to hear it again.
Noob is being too easy on these guys.
I don't want to hear it again. That's the problem. It's selfish.
I don't know. It was pretty clean. Go for round 2.
I think Evoken has. I think Evoken has to join them.
Ninja, you're banned. How dare you?
Okay.
Yeah,
so thanks everyone for coming.
Good job, guys.
That concludes this week's meeting. Let's all go and bury our faces after that.
Yeah. If anyone wants, if you are new to Battlefield, please send me a direct message with your name. I'll send you a list of other people to add to Origin. Thank you.
Yeah, so that concludes the meeting. Thanks everyone for coming. And see you in whatever games you're going to play over the week.
By the way, we're off the meeting point and then got some of you guys captured here. Just bring this up real quick.
Any other discussions that you wanted to extend? You're now free to. No one is obliged to be here. Not that